In this video, we're going to learn all about escalation clauses, what they are, how they work, and when you should use them. Hey everybody, it's Brad Decater with the Decater Real Estate Group. And for escalation clauses, I want to back up and start with what an escalation clause is. So an escalation clause is what's used in a bidding war when you're making an offer on a property that has multiple offers. So if you expect multiple offers, you want to use an escalation clause in some cases, which is going to be, it works like a bidding war type thing. Think about like an auction. So there's kind of like a starting price of your offer, and then it escalates in a specific amount of increments up into a maximum price. So the best way to explain it is like a real life situation. So let's say we make an offer at $500,000, but we have an escalation up to $550,000 in $5,000 increments. So in a real situation, if we were the only offer, our offer would be $500,000 because the whole escalation clause doesn't kick in yet because there's no other offers to initiate that escalation clause. And then let's say that there was a second offer and that offer was at $520,000. So in that case, our escalation clause would kick in, that addendum would come into play, and our offer is going to be automatically $5,000 above, escalated above the next best offer. So if the other offer is at $520,000, that makes our offer $525,000. So the escalation clause makes it so you don't have to kind of go back and forth, call each agent, each person to find out who's going to be willing to pay the most. You just make your kind of starting bid, make your top bid, and then decide what your increments are, and then you're kind of already all set. So the reason I like to use this for buyers is because we get kind of the best of both worlds. We get to make a very strong offer, and in my opinion, put our best foot forward by not leaving anything on the table. Because a lot of buyers, they want to try and play the game and kind of hold it close to the chest with what they're actually willing to pay. So in that scenario, let's say $500,000, they might be really willing to pay $550,000, but they don't want to like tell the seller that on paper. So they say, well, let's just offer $525,000 for now, and then maybe they'll call us back if someone has a better offer, and we can maybe go up to $550,000 later if we need to. I would advise against this strategy just because every listing agent works in a different way. Sometimes that will actually be the case, and they will call you back and say what's going on, and you'll have the opportunity to amend your offer. But if I really wanted the house, I definitely would not be relying on that to happen, just because some listing agents don't do that. So if they just get the 3-4 offers and then take the best offer that's there, you will be left in the dust because you didn't have the opportunity to come back. So if it's your dream home and you want it, this is a great way to put your best foot forward and go to that top price. The second part of that is that you have the protection from overpaying. That's the best part of it. So you're saying, I am willing to pay up to $550,000, but if no one else is, then I'm not either, which is a great position to be in. So let's go back to the other scenario. Someone else paid $520,000, your offer would be $525,000. So even though you're willing to pay $550,000, you don't have to actually pay $550,000 because your escalation clause, that's not how it works. Your offer is now $525,000. So it's great because it protects you from overpaying. Because on the flip side of that equation, if you just want to go full force with your main offer of $550,000, then you would have won. You definitely would have gotten that house. But if that situation was real and the second best offer was $520,000, then honestly you overpaid. You paid more than you really had to get the house. You only had to pay $525,000. So that's kind of the basics of the escalation clause. Now the second part of the video is who should use it and when should you use it. So I would be using an escalation clause in almost all competitive situations, meaning there's going to be multiple offers on the house. So it's my job as the buyer's agent, if I'm representing my buyer, call the listing agent, find out, hey, what's going on? How many offers do you have? If I can find out how many or what kind of price those offers are at, what kind of terms, all those things. So if I know it's going to be a multiple offer situation, I most likely am going to use an escalation clause because it's going to, like I said, give us the best chance of putting our best foot forward and being protected at the same time. So anytime there's more than one offer and my buyers are going to be able to go higher than like the list price, then I would be using an escalation clause. I would not be using an escalation clause most likely if I was below listing price, because the chances of getting the property at that point would be slim unless it was an older listing. So it had been on the market for a couple weeks and then there was a second offer that came the same day as ours. In that case, I would treat it again like a multiple offer situation. and use the escalation clause. But typically, if you're trying to, like, what I call steal the property off the market from, a few weeks later for below listing price, like you're negotiating, there's really no need for an escalation clause because there's no competition. Which is really another point. If there's no other offers, if I call the agent and say, hey, I just sent you an offer, how's it looking for you guys? Do you guys have any other offers? What's going on? And they say, nope, you guys are the only offer. That's great. Well then, I'm not going to use an escalation clause because I'm not going to tell them, on paper that I'm willing to pay more. Then they might actually not accept the offer and kind of start calling every agent and shopping around. Like all the 20 agents that saw it that last week, they're going to call all of them at once and say, hey, we got another offer. If you want to play ball, you better bring yours in pretty quickly. And so they might kind of they might go really slow. They might end up accepting our offer if no one else comes in. But what they're going to try and do, what I would try and do if I was the agent, is trying to get some competition so that they can use that escalation clause. So there's no reason to put an escalation clause unless there's multiple offers. So that's a scenario when you would not use it. Now, one more point about the escalation clauses is the increments in which you go above. I see a lot of times buyers, they like to go in like $1,000 increments or even $500 or $1. I definitely advise against that because you need to be enough above the next offer in order to be like the no questions winner, because it's not all about just price. In fact, in some cases, I recommend doing like $10,000 as opposed to $2,500 or $5,000, depending on my buyer. So you got to remember that the terms of the contract are just as important as the purchase price. So if I have like a 3.5% down FHA buyer and we're not waiving the inspection or the appraisal or any other contingencies, if we're $5,000 above the next best offer, if the next best offer at $520, for example, in this same example, if that offer waived the inspection or maybe they even just have like a 30% down conventional loan, they still might be a better offer just because of their terms, not just the price. So when I have a lower qualified buyer, meaning low down payment, not great terms of the contract, I will have their escalation clause be higher because we just need to be enough above that other offer in order for it to make sense for them to choose us. Because even if we're higher, sometimes it's not the best. So that's why if you're doing the $100 escalation or even $1,000 escalation, I don't think it's a very good strategy because you're hoping it's just not good enough. It's not a big enough discrepancy to have a huge meaningful impact on the the seller and the listing agent. So if there's other things that are close, like maybe it's even just a few days closing, like the other guys are closing 3 days earlier. I mean, $1,000 is not super significant. So that's why I think it needs to be a kind of a bigger increment to make it so it's worthwhile for the seller to actually choose that offer. So hopefully you learned a little bit more about escalation clauses, what they are, who they're for, why we use them. If you have any more questions, shoot me a message.